Bitcoin will be worth $1 million, but there won't be any dollars to compare it to. Hi there, crypto fans. Dick Allgire here. I'm going to tell you my thought process of why I know that Bitcoin is going to be worth $1 million, but it will be valued in satoshis. Interesting segment, but first I want to tell you about a big news story that's happening currently in Hawaii. This is an old picture of Albert Ian Schweitzer in court. In the 1990s, he was convicted of murdering and raping a beautiful young girl over on the Big Island. He was sentenced to 130 years in prison. The trouble, I reported on this. I was a news anchor and news reporter at that time, and I undoubtedly read about him on the air. I just thought, well, another murderer, another in a long line of murders, send him away to prison. And they did. He was innocent. There was no evidence to show he committed any crime. He languished in prison for 23 years until he was set free yesterday. Here is a picture of the deputy removing the handcuffs after the hearing that presented the DNA to show conclusively that he wasn't involved in that horrendous crime. And here he is, about to hug his mother and go home with his family. Can you imagine 23 years in prison and you're innocent? Man, that's bad. I hope he gets a big settlement from the state. He deserves it. I would give him money right now. I would shake his hand. I would hug him and say, man, I'm so sorry for what you went through. I'd give him $1,000 like that. I bet our crypto viewing people would. We'll follow that. I think the state, he'll probably get a few million from the state. He should, for being, wrongfully convicted. All right. The people who invented Bitcoin, and I say people because it wasn't a guy named Satoshi Nakamoto. It was the people that were planning out and designing the financial system of the future. And they do this decades and decades in advance. They were very smart. And they named the smallest unit of Bitcoin a satoshi. A satoshi is equal to 100 millionth of a Bitcoin. So if you have one Bitcoin, 100 millionth of that is a satoshi, named after the so-called inventor who was a pseudonym for a group of people who really invented Bitcoin. There was no Satoshi Nakamoto. Why did they name that small unit a satoshi, and why is that important? Because I know that in the future things will be valued in satoshis. Like we value things in US dollars right now. Like a cup of coffee is $5. A gallon of gas is $3.50. You go to a movie, I don't know how much it costs to go to a movie. I haven't been to one in years, like $8.50, something like that. But you think in terms of dollars, things are valued in dollars. In the future, the dollar will fail. The dollar will no longer be used. The dollar will be looked upon with some repugnance. It will be reviled. It will be seen as a stain on our history. Like, oh, these paper units made by this thing called the Federal Reserve, and it enslaved and harmed people around the world. I don't get too much into that, but the dollar will be going away. So Bitcoin is going to be the world reserve currency. It's going to be the settlement of debts and the store of value for corporations, governments, supranational organizations. It's going to be Bitcoin. So for everyday worth, you're not going to use 1 or 2 Bitcoin because it's going to be worth way, way, way too much. You will use satoshis. So how much will a satoshi be worth? A satoshi, again, doing the math, is 100 millionth of a Bitcoin. I'm saying here today that a satoshi at some point, it could be worth more than this, but at some point it will be worth at least 1 penny. So to round things off, when you're doing your everyday transactions, you will think in hundreds of satoshis. Like a cup of coffee that used to be worth $5 will now be worth 500 satoshis. Starbucks, cup of coffee please, 500 satoshis, okay? Tax is 50 satoshis. So you just 500 satoshis. Gallon of gas, if it's $2.50, 250 satoshis. Go to a movie, 800 satoshis. You go out for a night of, you go to dinner, 20,000 satoshis, you tip 2,500 satoshis as a tip would be a good tip. I hope my math is right there. Okay, if a satoshi was worth a penny, how much would a Bitcoin be worth? Well, if it's 100 million satoshis and a satoshi is a penny, then one Bitcoin would be worth $1 million. And I think that is very feasible. That's well within the realm of possibility. I believe it's going to happen. So what would the market cap of Bitcoin be if Bitcoin was worth $1 million? We can do the math on that one. There can only ever be 21 million Bitcoin, but a number of them have been lost. Some of them will not be in circulation. So let's say there's 19 million Bitcoin in circulation. 19 million, and if each Bitcoin is worth $1 million, that is 1 million times 19 million, which comes out to $19 trillion. So the market cap of Bitcoin would only have to be $19 trillion. Very doable. The amount, I looked this up, the amount of paper money in circulation worldwide currently is $40 trillion worth of paper money. How much investment is there worldwide? The equity market cap is said to be around 127 trillion. So to take all that money and convert just a small portion of it into Bitcoin is only $19 trillion. Very doable. So put this video aside, wait a few years. At some point, I believe it will be in my lifetime, you will be buying things on a daily basis based on satoshis. There will be no inflation when we use Bitcoin, so it should, you know, your gallon of gas, well, we won't be using gas, we'll be charging our electric vehicles, because above all, we're sustainable, equitable, and inclusive. We like sustainability, we like equity, and we always want to be inclusive. So if it costs you $60 to charge your Tesla, that will be 60,000 satoshis. Did I do that math right? You get the picture. Anyway, $1 million Bitcoin. Believe it.